Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there, you gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew their glorious past, if that people knew their glorious past, if that people knew their glorious past, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage, we are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Okay, welcome to another week of Manifestations 2020. Yeah. What's going on, Bobby Drake?
In the zone. Oh, my beautiful
All right,
black brother, I am doing sensational. How y'all feeling?
We're doing great, man. Great. We have
Peace,
a wonderful guest, and I wanna get a little story before we get into it. So as you guys know, that we were down here, Dr. Umar came into town in Miami Gardens, and I had went out there to go see Dr. Umar. A lot of people didn't know back in 2014 and 2015, I had an epic 2 interviews with Dr. Umar. Unfortunately, it was under a radio station that the guy, me and him no longer talk, and he didn't want to release that those interviews with Dr. Umar. And when I tell you it was phenomenal interviews, even Dr. Umar said that was one of the best interviews that he ever engaged in. And I really wanted to get him back on the platform. Now that we have our own thing going on, definitely going to make sure that we get Dr. Umar on here. And when we were out there, just waiting for Dr. Umar to come to the side, chop it up with him, exchange numbers with him, I was able to connect with this beautiful and powerful queen that you guys are going to know who she is. And I was introduced to her by the wonderful Mona Lisa. We talk about Mona Lisa on here all the time. Shout out to Mona Lisa and Probation Station, and she does a phenomenal job. Always in the neighborhood, always in the community, always looking out for our peoples. So we're all 6 degrees of separation from everybody. So she was able to introduce me to this queen, and when I went over to their booth, they had the new Alkebulan Education Center booth. And when I tell you that they had some young prince, they were out there and they were highly educated. I mean, they exude nothing but Black excellence. And I was just so grasped to that I had to meet the owner of the school. And when I started talking to this young queen, and I was just so impacted by the extraordinary intelligence she had, and you could see that she poured it into these children. And man, I said to her, I was like, I need you on my show because the world has to see how much of a powerful woman you are. And tonight's show, you're definitely going to get in depth and in details of exactly who she is and what she represents. So with no further ado, I'm definitely going to hand it over to the powerful Queen Cheryl Irvin, and of the CEO of New Alkebulan Education Center, and let her just introduce herself to you guys. And definitely we can get on with it. How you doing, Queen?
Excellent, excellent. I am good and getting better. Good and getting better.
Nice.
Thank you guys for having me on this evening. Thank you for allowing me to bring our school into your environment. I'm sitting in the school right now, and I'm just grateful to be here having the conversation with you. So, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably all of you, my name is Cheryl Irvin. I am a native of South Florida. I was born and raised right here in the Sunrise area. And I was a student here of the public school system. My educational history, we can go over that, but I was definitely a student of the South Florida educational system. I went on to go to college, and in that experience, I made the commitment to build schools that were specifically designed for African children, for Black children. And I just have spent, that was in 1992 that I went to college. I made that commitment in about 1994. And I have been trying to figure it out ever since and putting the steps into place to write curriculum material and design spaces that are specifically for our children.
Oh, awesome. Super dope. I was just, the way that you exude so much knowledge and intelligence, when I stepped in the realm of your aura, I can just feel it. And just by you just labeling everything that you do. And a lot of people don't understand and not privy to the Alkebulan, just the name in itself. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. A.K. Are you familiar with Dr. A.K. with his school that was in Broward? Is that name familiar with you? Is that name familiar with you, Queen?
Which you froze for a second. So what's the name?
Dr. AK. Dr. AK of
Oh, most definitely. Most
okay,
definitely. Beku
okay.
Kwesi Tosu. Dr.
Yes.
Beku Kwesi Tosu.
Yes.
I met um, Dr. AK around 2015, maybe 2017, somewhere around in there. Um, I found an organization for my son to volunteer at. My son was maybe 10, 11 at the time. And this organization was building schools, had planned to build a school on the continent. And Dr. AK was one of the board of directors of that organization that I took my son to volunteer at once a week. And so I met him there. And during our activities, we did various activities in the community to raise money to build a school on the continent. And he was there as an advisor and on their board because, as we know, he's from West Africa. And he, as every, he's just amazing. He's amazing. So I met him there. And when he announced that he had gotten a charter to build charter schools, I approached him and I said, well, I've already been writing a curriculum for Black African children throughout the diaspora. It's project based. So I was telling him about the curriculum, and I then partnered with him to help write some of the curriculum for the school, the charter school that he started. And that's how I saw really firsthand the difference between charter and private and public, which a lot of people don't know. I have been studying that for a while anyway. I was actually on site of the very first charter school here in South Florida. Jeb Bush was there cutting the ribbon for that small school when charter schools were still what they were originally intended to be, which are community-based, specific to a certain population, small grassroots educational organizations. And I was there at that first opening of that first school with Jeb Bush. So I had, a lot of experience, and I just approached him and I offered it to him and assisted him in opening his charter school.
Wow, that's amazing. And it just goes to show you that this month with Impactful and Empowering Women's Month, you fit right in. And all the things that just by you aligning with Dr. AK, I already know. Even if I didn't meet you out there and I hadn't had prior knowledge with you, just by the fact that you know who Dr. AK is and you're affiliated and you guys actually went together and build a curriculum together, just lets me know that two powerful mind levels on either side of the spectrum, the man and the woman, coming together to build a powerful curriculum for the children. Dr. AK invited me into his home, into his school, and to show me, the things that go on in the school and how bright and brilliant the young children are. And I was in this school, and there was this little kid, he couldn't be no more than 3 or 4 years old. And man, he was raising his hands, and he was just, the way he spoke, you would have thought he was a freshman in college. And I'm not exaggerating. Dr. AK, and seeing the children that were around you at the time that I was out there at the Dr. Umar event, just seeing how you two are around children and the vast amount of intelligence that they accumulate above their grade level is just mind blowing. The last time I've seen something like that personally was my stepchildren that I had a couple years ago when I was involved in that relationship. Her children went to the mosque that's down on 54th and 7th. And in the mosque, the Nation of Islam school, Nation of Islam, they have their children excelling 2 or 3 grade levels above.
Yeah.
So outside of the mosque, I've never seen it until I ran into Dr. AK, and then outside of Dr. AK, and then I ran into you and I seen that as well. And I was just so excited because I know that the school system isn't really designed to excel our children like that. A lot of times it's there to dumb down, because I know I've seen a lot of children that should excel to the next grade, but instead of excelling, they don't promote them in that way. But as far as how you guys do it, and how the Nation of Islam do it, they push the children. They maximize their intelligence. They don't like have a ceiling for them. It's just sky's the limit. And I see that a lot of times people have this stereotype that the black children, they don't excel, or you have racist individuals that say black individuals are not as brilliant as every other race. And I can contest to that. That's far from the truth. I've seen a lot of brilliant young black girls and boys that have done phenomenal things. And even without the realms of seeing that firsthand, our ancestors, and pretty much every time we go around, we just left Black History Month, which you can see pretty much all the inventions in the world were made by black folks. We highlighted the queen who made the GPS. Without the GPS, everybody in this world would be lost. The more construction you do, that would be so hard to look at a map and add in all these new roads. So, shout out to that queen for doing so much, and all the other pioneers that created so much things. And the space that you are building has now will be giving more of our black folks and the black children an opportunity to be just as creative as our ancestors, or even more powerful than our ancestors. So that's why I wanted you to come on here tonight to show the people exactly what you do for the children, how your school is so beneficial, and how we can pretty much ease off of the regular public school norm and try to funnel our children into powerful schools like this. And I'm pretty sure as we go on later on, you can tell us about everything that we as a community need to do to make sure that you keep afloat. Because I remember with the children down at the mosque, at one point, the mosque didn't have any funding to try to keep the school up and running. And I remember they tried to reach out to, I think, Flow Rider or something like that. But they end up, I forgot where they end up getting the money and the funding, and then they didn't have to shut down. But I think it was like 1 year or maybe half a year. They got the funding back, and then the children went back. But some of the children had to go to public school, and I think they really liked it a lot because the teachers down there really spent the time with them and really focused on getting them and maintaining them on a higher level of frequency. So I definitely appreciate that. And I want people to understand there's routes and there's options out there besides the public, the charter, and everything like that. With that being said, can you break down the different schooling and show us why your schools and schools like yours is so much different than what goes on with the other schooling?
Okay, so public school, as we all know, is the traditional school system that was created to provide free public education to anyone in our social system, all children in our social system. And that still educates the vast majority of students in our country. Charter schools, they were started in the early 90s, but they are still public schools. That's one of the things that people don't quite understand. Charter schools are public schools that are ran by private companies. So they are still public schools. They are still, they were originally designed so that grassroots organizations like Dr. AK or someone else who maybe a Spanish person, or maybe a person who wants to educate just children on the spectrum, that they can take a small group of children in a community-based facility, in a community-based way, receive funds from the public coffers, but still be monitored by the public system because they're still public schools. What happened was that you get You got EMOs, or education management organization, or charter school CMOs, charter school management organizations started to pop up. Charter Schools USA, Edison Schools. I worked for the first, and to my knowledge, only Black-owned CMO, charter school management organization, that was based out of New York on Wall Street. And what those companies realized is that if they can acquire these charters and build certain schools to scale in terms of a certain number of them and manage them financially to a certain level, that there's a profit margin left on top of that. So a machine started called the Charter School Management Organization, and the regular small person like a Dr. AK who just got a charter didn't stand a chance against these Wall Street machines that could get the funding for that then went with the charter. Because you can get a charter and don't have funding. You can get a charter and then you apply for the funding, but then they tell you that the building that you have has to be up to certain standards. You might have to put a crosswalk on the street. You might have to put a street light up, like those things. You might have to put out $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 worth of shrubbery around. Those are things that we encountered as a small grassroots organization when Dr. Aker was trying to start his charter school. And a lot of charter schools encounter on the financial end of getting started. So here you have the charter school management companies. They come in and they say, you have your charter. We see you're having, some trouble. We'll bring you in under our umbrella and you will now be an Edison school, Charter School USA school. And so now the money is now managed by them. You can keep working and educating the children, but we're going to manage the money. So that's why a lot of charter schools have issues and problems, because the ones that are doing really, really well, if you look at the management of it, 9.9 times out of 10, it's not going to be an individual or a small grassroots organization as it was intended. It's going to be a corporate CMO. That being said, then you have, it didn't start out that way, but that's kind of what it is now. That's kind of what it is now. And that's not, not a bad thing. It was bad for the grassroots organizations who were trying to do it a grassroots way and really stay true to their model and really stay true to what they set out to do. They just got hit with financial issues left and right and weren't able to do it. And many of them folded into the charter school management organizations that had a bigger corporate machine behind them in terms of running the schools financially. Yeah. So do you have public schools? You have charter schools. Say again?
Okay.
You
were saying, I didn't want to cut you off.
You have charter schools, which both of them are public. Public schools managed by the public, the Broward County School Board, and charter schools, still public schools, but now financially managed by a private corporation. And a lot of times with private corporations, one of their motives and motivations is to make a profit. So there are, and I'm not knocking charter schools. I have worked in public schools. I have worked in charter schools. I have worked in private schools, home schools. Name the model, I probably worked there, right? I'm just giving you the differentiation between them. And then you have private schools. Private schools are, you do register with the state. You are then given a license by the state, but the finances, not only do you manage the finances, you manage the curriculum, and you are able to basically have more autonomy with what you're going to provide for your students. Yeah.
With the the Jewish community, what does their schooling fall under? Because from what I'm hearing, that they have their schooling for their children from 0 to 13, and then from 13 they plug them back into the public schooling. So before, in the 0 to 13 frame, what schooling uh, category would they be placed in?
Well,
Is that private or is that?
I can't speak to every Jewish school, right? But most of them
Okay.
are private or parochial schools. When you hear the word parochial, that means it's connected to some type of religious organization. And those organizations are private, which is why they can teach the Bible or whatever religious tenets that they're going to be teaching, because they're private. As a private school, you do have a certain leeway to teach a broader range of things to the students in your school. With the state of Florida and with many states, what they have done in recent years is they have provided vouchers, the voucher system. And the voucher system has been really political, and it has been the left, mostly liberals have fought against the voucher system in a lot of states. But Florida is one of those states that has a voucher system. What does that mean? That means that it gives, for every child that goes to school, there is a per capita funding for that child that goes to that public school. That's why attendance is so important. That's why, that school is going to call you up and tell you, oh, your child hasn't been here. That's why they're going to have truancy laws and say, okay, if your child doesn't come to school, you could be arrested. Like that, their money is tied to the number of heads in the seat for a certain amount of time in that 180-day school year. We have 190 something days, but their money is tied to the children in the seat. And if that child goes to another school, then so does the funding, right? So in a voucher state, what happens is that funding that comes with that individual child is given to the parent in the form of a scholarship or a voucher, and that parent can take that money and put their child in a private school with it, or any school that they want the child to go to. So right now in the state of Florida, they have a scholarship. It's called the Step Up for Students Scholarship. Step Up for Students is the organization that manages it. But there are about 4 or 5 different scholarships that your child and your family can apply for. And you can get up to $7,800, between $7,000 and $8,000 if your student is, I'm going to say the word average for now, average or regular student, and up to $10,000 if your child is a special needs student. Per year, every year that you are on this voucher system or you have this scholarship. And in the state of Florida, once you apply for the scholarship and you get it, you don't have to apply for it again. You have it until your child graduates or until they're 22, whichever one comes first.
Oh, wow.
Right. And there's a lot of interesting things about the scholarship in Florida that I'll share with you guys. But one of the good things that happen in the state of Florida is that these scholarships or the voucher system, parents can apply for, then they can take that money and they can come to a school like ours and it'll cover $7,000 to $8,000 to $10,000 of that student's tuition. And most private schools, the average private school, I'm not talking about your American, I'm not talking about, ones that cost college tuition. I'm talking about your average small private school, range about $10,000 a year. So the scholarship covers just about all of it, right? And it's funny that these scholarships and the voucher program is something that is heavily backed by conservatives, by Republicans.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily doing it for us, and I don't care about that. They are doing it so that they can take their children and put them in parochial schools, so that they can take their children and put them in private schools. And I'm not mad at it. We just need to learn that we can do the same thing.
Correct. I think that a lot of people as far as the information, do you think that the parents, is there a good communication with this information to the parents? Or do you think a lot of parents are just dumbfounded and don't really are lost in the whole system and just tunnel vision with the public school in itself? Are they
Yes,
not informed about these options?
I think a couple of things happen.
Mhm.
Right? A lot of parents are not informed. A lot of parents don't know that they can get a scholarship from the state if they're in Florida, and there are many other states as well. They don't know that their state will give them the money that comes with their child to put their child in a private school, to put their child in their, oh, my church has a school and my church has a private school, but I can't afford to send them there. So well, the state of Florida, you can take that money and take it to your church school or to an African center school or whatever fits your values, whatever fits your values. And here's the amazing thing about the state of Florida. Last year, Governor DeSantis expanded the amount of money. One, he also, it started out being a needs-based program for low-income people.
Mhm.
He took off the income requirement. So there is no income requirement at this point. Anybody of any income, 6-figure, 7-figure, can apply for this $7,000 to $10,000 a year that I'm talking about. Put their child in a private school with it. And another expansion of the program under DeSantis is that not only can you use this money to send your child to private school, but you can use it to homeschool your child as well. So that money can come directly to your family, and your family can set up an educational program right out of your home that you want to do for your child and receive the scholarship, the $7,000 to $10,000 in scholarship from the state of Florida to homeschool your child. So
Wow.
yes, there is money for education on a private level, on a micro level, on a homeschool level in the state of Florida that so many parents know nothing about. Then you also have the parents, like you said, who are so afraid of taking their child out of the public school system that even if you told them that this opportunity was available to them, they wouldn't move because they want to know when the child is in kindergarten, they want to know, is your school accredited? And what about their points? And what about their college? And you're like, your child is in the first grade. Like, so, but what that is showing is just their fear of pulling out of the traditional system, because if I pull them out of the traditional system, they may not be able to continue along that pipeline into college, which then is traditionally thought to lead into jobs. That's really the
Yeah.
fear. That's really the
Yeah.
fear. And so you have some who don't know, and you have some who do know and are afraid to move.
Yeah. Definitely. Now, does this, all of this creates more clarity for people to not be so hard on a lot of um, pioneers that's trying to go this route to open up these schools for our children? One of the biggest pioneers and most famous one that we know of is Dr. Umar, trying to establish his school. And a lot of people ridicule him because they say, why is your school taking that long to build and everything like that? I remember Dr. Umar was on my platform 2014, 2015. So you're almost talking about almost 10 years now. And that's why people are ridiculing him for that. And he's telling you that, funding, a lot of the celebrities are not coming and funding me. You guys are not funding me on that heavy level like that. And there's so many other things in the parameters of dealing with the state because you're trying to move outside of the state's direct control. So there's a lot of things that you guys don't know about it that you have to do, a lot of requirements. And we see him being open about the HVAC and making sure all the stuff is going on good in his school. So is there like a little bit of leeway and grace that people should give Dr. Umar on that level as far as, having this long journey of putting the school together and getting it right for our children?
Fun fact about my school. I'll tell you that. Okay. And this may circle around and answer your question.
Okay.
Fun fact. In 2012, Dr. Umar Johnson came to South Florida, right here at the African American Research Library. There's a little building behind it. And the advertisement was a 3-day workshop to discuss building our own schools. Now, mind you, I went to college in 1992. I was going to be an attorney. But by 1994, 2 years later, I had made the commitment to build schools, right? And graduated in 1996. I did not know how to build a school in 1996. So I went and I did the first thing that I did know how to do. I became a public school teacher. I became a public school teacher right here at MacArthur High School, was my first school. I was teaching 9th grade, economics, history, a whole host of things. I taught here in South Florida. I taught in New York. I got an opportunity to go to New York. I taught in New York. I taught in Queens. I taught in Manhattan. Here was my plan in my mind. I don't know how to build a school. I'm going to do the research by being in schools. So each year I found a different model of school to work in. I started in the public school system. And then when I went to New York, I went to the High School of Economics and Finance. Here's a public school system with a certain focus, a focus high school. And then I went and I taught special ed for a year. And then I thought the free school model was what was going to be. I learned about the free school model. I found a free school model school in upstate New York. I called the owner of that school. I said, I'll come there. I'll teach for free. Just give me a place to stay. I went there. I taught the free school model. So I'm learning all of these different types of models, right? I taught in the Montessori model. Every year I picked a different model and I taught in that model because I wanted to know like what is going to specifically be what it is that is going to move the needle for African children in this country and others, if I can build a model that can apply. Right. So now go from 1996 to about 2012 when I get this flyer. Now you got a person who is like, I am serious about building schools to the point where it's like, oh, that model, free school, oh, project-based learning, oh, I'm coming to. It's winter in Chicago. I see that your school is amazing for African children. Can I come there? I'll teach for free. All you need to do is let me shadow you and meet with me once a week to teach me what it is that you're doing and how you started a school. I go to Chicago. I went to New York. I went to Chicago. I went to California to learn project-based learning. Wherever there was a model of schooling, I wanted to experience it. Not only wanted to experience it, I wanted to teach in it. I wanted to see its actual effects on Black children. So then I was pulling together all of these different modalities that I thought, oh, this piece definitely works well for them. This piece works really well. This piece, okay. 2012, I get the flyer. Umar Johnson's coming in town. 3-day workshop on let's build our own schools. I'm a kid in a candy shop, right? Because that's what I've been prepping for. That's what I've been working for. And now, mind you, every year that I worked as a teacher, I lived in spaces where I didn't have to spend a lot of my money, and I just squirreled it to the side. Just put it to the side. Right? My first teaching job, I told my mom what my plan was. She's like, I support you. If I'm living in a car, you got the back seat. So I went, I stayed at home. I took my teaching salary, squirreled it away. So now you got these years of just like squirreling away as much money as I could. I'm coming with knowledge of modalities, with a little bit of money in hand, excited that Dr. Umar Johnson was in town and we were about to build some schools, right? 2012. We talked. We planned a lot. Particularly the first day, the planning was very education focused. Toward the end of it, the focus had shifted. For some reason, somehow we started talking about relationships and polygamy. How that mixed with the education part, I'm not sure. But the 3 days end, there's no actual structure for putting boots on the ground in South Florida. I was a little like deflated, like, ugh, okay. But so were a couple of other people who were there. We got together, we talked, and we said, okay, you have knowledge of this, you have a space, I have a curriculum, let's do it. So by 2013, me and those people that I met at Dr. Umar Johnson's meeting started the first iteration of what is now the New Al-Kebalan STEM Education Center. One of the young women was the head of a Black homeschool organization. Some of the women had their children in that homeschool organization. Another woman had a 2-story home in Dania Beach, now known as the House of Kumba. Offered it. Here you go. We can have this. We can transform this into the school that we need, right? And that's what we did. We didn't wait for that meeting to pan out. We didn't wait for him to come with a structured plan of action, which we did not get in that meeting. We said, this is what I have. This is what you have. This is what you have. This is what you have. And it was about 5 of us came together with the resources that we had. One had a house, I had savings and a curriculum. Another one had a homeschool organization. We came together with our children and started the first iteration of, like I said, what is now the New Al-Kebalan STEM Education Center. And it was amazing. We had great success with our children. And so fast forward a couple of years, that's 2013. Fast forward a couple of years, I get a full ride to get a degree in school leadership, which is what most principals have. And so I went and got that degree in school leadership. I came back with the money that I saved and I leased a space in Plantation. And I only had maybe $50,000. But that was, as I calculated, that was enough to get started, and then have a tuition-based structure where the parents were actually paying tuition for their children. This was pre-scholarship. There was no scholarship at that time. But the parents came in and they paid tuition for their children to go there. So a public school teacher squirreling away enough money, a little bit less than $50,000. Leased a space in a commercial building, got all of the necessary documents and licensures that I needed, and I started educating children. And it wasn't just me, it was a team of teachers. You have to have a team. You can't do it by yourself unless you have a really small micro school of 5 to 10 children. But we had like 35, 40, 50 children each time. So does it take $2 million in grit money? You can do a lot. Let me just say you could do a lot with $2 million in grit money.
Okay.
And we didn't have it. We had my less than 50,000 and the commitment of the educators who were there and the parents who were there. And we got started, and we've been going for about 10 years now. We are now located in Lauderhill. We found a space that was 3 times larger in square footage than the Plantation space. Took my savings again, came and leased this space. and we've been here in Lauderhill for the past 5 years.
Wow, amazing. That's amazing. I think that I think everybody I think that we need to highlight more of people like yourself and the ones that are doing it off rip, with less funding, less popularity, and has been out here with major sacrifices.
Major.
I do want
major sacrifices.
Trust me, I know about the sacrifices, and I know if we can get into that a little bit later. But I want to show people this video that you sent me so they get a general gist of what your schooling is. Is that cool with you? Is that fine?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to show you this video, and she's going to break down everything about the schooling, and you're going to see the wonderful children in there building stuff, the intelligence that they exude. You're going to be very excited about this video like I was when I watched it, all right?
I am the founder and director of the New Alkebulan STEM Education Center. New Alkebulan is the best kept secret in the city of Lauderhill, Florida. We are an African-centered, project-based private school with a curriculum that was specifically designed for our children. Well, what does that look? African-centered, project-based school? What does that look like? Let me show you.
I got drive. What's driving you? 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 I got drive to see. I got drive to achieve. I got drive. I believe I can be anything. I got drive to see. I got drive to achieve. I got drive. I believe I can be anything.
What? Those kindergarten through 8th grade students built a car? But that's not all. They're building boats. Our students have built cars, they've built boats, they've built businesses.
N.A.E. African Intelligence is a business made for Black children and by Black children. Our goal is to give young children who are glued to their phone, computers, and electronics engaging material to build their mind and stimulate their intellectual activity.
We use artificial intelligence software to make these boats.
But Black people have never relied on artificial intelligence to create. We have created art, inventions, institutions, and pyramids all through African intelligence, not artificial intelligence.
We feel like we should get back to doing for ourselves and thinking for ourselves.
So far, we've designed and printed 6 books.
That's AI for African intelligence, not artificial intelligence.
Because there is nothing artificial about Black brilliance.
Those African intelligence books were not just a school project that they use artificial intelligence to create. Those books are now available for sale on Amazon. So they are truly small business owners. So you see, at the New Al-Kebalon STEM Education Center, we build real-world, hands-on experiences for students to really experience what they're learning, to really walk away with the idea that they are creators. That is our motto at this school. We are creating creators. And I think that's the end of it.
Man, I definitely want to give you a round of applause for that. That is just straight. Oh my gosh, when I saw it, you don't understand how much tears I was holding back because
my eyes didn't stop twitching. I'm like, I'm like, they're building cars, they're building boats.
Yes.
I was ready for you to show us the video where they started making airplanes and they were flying around and they were flying in them around the classroom. That's what I was waiting on.
That is this semester after they come back from spring break. The project is called Take Flight. So they're going to be learning all about aviation and flight. And the idea is that they will build a flight simulator here inside of the school. So that is the idea. So I need to say, though, we are not a vocational school. We're not a vocational school. We're not like, oh, you're going to do this to get a job. We're not a vocational school. We are an African-centered, project-based, academically advanced school, right? What does that mean? We know that as Black people, that as African people, we complain all the time about we don't have our own schools. We don't have our own hospitals. We don't have our own name. You name it. You can rattle them off with me. We don't have our own anything, right? If you've had that conversation and you're in the live stream, put it in the chat. What have we said we don't have our own of, right? We say that all the time. We have those conversations all the time. But then as I was getting all the bits and pieces from these different models that I was telling you about, and I would go and work here for a year and here for a year, here for a year, like what do African children need? One of the questions that occurred to me was, if we say we need all of these things and we don't have all of these things, we don't build all of these things for ourselves. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, we don't even make our own underwear. And if the Asian people stop making drawers tomorrow, we're going to be assed out. Like, we don't make anything, he said, right? So the question that came to me was, at what point in your education, I was asking myself, and I had an amazing education. At what point in your education, Cheryl, did anybody teach you how to build anything of substantial? That, like, at what point did you learn it? I went to, I'm like the queen of dual enrollment. I started out in elementary school, skipping a grade, and going from 3rd grade to 5th grade because I love learning. I was just a sponge. I love learning, right? And then in high school, I was in a dual enrollment high school and college. So I went to Miami-Dade Community College. It was called Miami-Dade Community College at the time. and that was where my dual enrollment was. I was going to Miami-Dade and high school at the same time. And it's funny because my graduation from Miami-Dade was in May, and my graduation from high school was in June. So I technically graduated college before I graduated high school. Then I got accepted into Stanford University in California, in Palo Alto, California, into a dual enrollment bachelor's program, master's program, get it all in the same 4 years as you would take to get a bachelor's, right? So by the time my graduation came in 1996, I wasn't just getting my BA in political science and pre-law, I got my master's degree in education at the same time. And then from there, New York University gave me a full ride scholarship to do a dual enrollment program, then get a law degree and a PhD at the same time. Amazing education, amazing opportunities throughout my entire life. I didn't know how to build nothing. I didn't know how to build a school. I didn't know how to build a business around the curriculum that I was putting together in my mind. I did not know. And I had to stop and I had to ask myself, like, at what point did anybody teach you to build anything? At what point did anybody tell you to build anything? And those two questions, at what point did anybody tell me to build something? And at what point did anybody teach me to build something? I was like, that's the model. That's the model for African children. That's the model for Black children. It's got to be African-centered, which is just culturally relevant to who you are. And it has to be project-based. So this is not a vocational school that's teaching you what job you're going to get. No, we do a different project 3 times a year. We have 3 semesters in a year, and we do a substantial project like the ones that you have seen 3 times a year. And it's not for the purpose of saying this is your vocation. It's for the purpose of making you maker-minded. It's for the purpose of building builders. It's for the purpose of creating creators. So that you can make things, you should make things, and you must make things in service of your people. And that's what this school is all about. It's to create a maker's mindset. Like I said in the video, our motto at this school is that we are creating creators. So in the next generation, it will occur to them. It will be immediately occur to them, what should I make? We need what? How can I make it? And I go into these projects. I've never built a boat. Neither have my teachers. I employ 6 amazing individuals in this space. None of them have built a boat. None of them built a car. We turned an entire wall in our school into a hydroponic grower that grows miniature leafy greens on the wall. None of us had built hydroponic growers before. You know, when the children started their businesses, we let them see that we're right here with you. We're right alongside of you. We have to start with a plan. Let's make our plan together. All of it. That we go from soup to nuts. How are we going to do this? And we do it. And we provide all of the academics that surrounds it as well. So I just want to be clear that we're not a vocational school because our children here are from kindergarten to 9th grade. We're not a vocational school. We are a school that is intent on making maker-minded individuals and creating creators that know that they can, they should, they must create. Because if we don't, then we will constantly, like John Henry Clark says, be dependent on people to make our underwear for us. And everything else that comes to us. They can turn your lights off. They can determine what you eat, if you eat, when you eat, and we have to get into a maker's mindset that we can, we should, we must. And that's what we do here.
I love that for the simple fact that we are losing our men to not being creative and being handy. When was the last time anybody ever asked for a handyman? And if a handyman looked like us, most of the handymen we know are from other communities.
And from a female standpoint, the fact that I have to ask for a handyman, and when I do have a man, that's a whole different conversation. That I have to go get a handyman to fix the whatever, because you can't do it, because you've never learned how to do it. Like that. Now I got to get with the handyman. Like, come on now, come on.
It used to be handyman was part of every man back in the day had some handyman skills.
Some handy skills, now, right? You can put together a shelf. You can change, fixtures, something, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And you called someone who had expertise in something if you need expertise in something.
Like that heavy stuff.
But our young boys, I'm not even putting it on them. We have gotten away from rearing our young men in that way.
Exactly. And I want to give a shout out to Aman, which is Mila. She's been on here, her husband. He has built her multiple items in the house. He's a very great handyman. He also knows how to do a lot of equipments and change out a lot of plumbing and electrical work. And he also shows him and his brothers in the Annabis Club, gun club. They go out and they do things in the community, feet to ground, and they educate and show the younger generation how to do it. So by me seeing that going on in your schooling, when I saw the video, I just, like I said, it was so many tears that was just held back, because now these children, these young boys are not going to be dependent. They're going to be independent, bringing them back to their footsteps of their ancestors, because that's what we once were. So all of the things that we normally outsource to the community, you and your whole tribe is now trying to keep that resources back in our community, which means more dollars in our pocket, which means longer circulation of the currency in our community, which allows us to build a more and better community and fund things for our community, like the schooling and on the opposite perspective, as well as other communities use their businesses to fund inside their communities. So I love it. It's bringing us back to our element. And like I say, I was just, I'm Jamaican, but I was rooting for the Haitian boat, because of 1804. So, I educate my Jamaican peoples about
the revolution.
That. So the revolution, we got to come together. Like I said, everybody's unity. We all got to stick together. I love the young prince when he said, man, we got to start building our own stuff, and I love the fact that you guys use African intelligence instead of AI, which is artificial intelligence, and the children are in their minds.
That logo on their shirts with they did that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They came up with the idea, and I walk them through. We as a team here, as a teaching team here, walk them through the process, and that was a couple of years back when AI was just kind of coming on the scene heavy, with the different apps and different things that you can use, and so it's like, okay, let's work with that. There were that semester project was called Black Business Matters, and it was all about entrepreneurship and coming up with an idea, expanding on that idea, building it out, marketing it, and building a business around it. So that was only one of four businesses that they created, because they create in teams. That's another thing. We never have one person over here creating something by themselves. So you're stellar at this, and then you get to stand up and show everybody else off. No, you're going to be on a team of 3 or 4, maybe 5 people, and everybody's going to have to work together. It's not always easy. Of course, you have the bickering, just like you would in any company and in any corporation. But that's one of the issues that we also have in the Black community, right? Where you are trying to put something together, and now it's a matter of like who's in charge and who's going to do this and who's You see it playing itself out with the children, but then having that opportunity to do that at 10 and get instruction on how you have to use your strengths to leverage his growth area, and he has strengths and where you're going to leverage that. Like the ability to get that at 10 speaks to a major problem in the, I don't know about other places in the diaspora, but definitely in the Black American community, where we often find it difficult to work with each other as adults to build things. Like, you know, like there's no reason why we shouldn't be working with Dr. Umar right now.
Correct.
It's
Very
important.
I mean, I know, you know, Dr. Umar, Dr. Marcus Klein in Chicago, Baba Amin open in Carolina and Texas, and there are schools like this in terms of African-centered schools who are focusing on African-centered information in different capacities. If you look up Marcus Klein School in Chicago, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind. It will blow your mind.
Nice.
Mwalimu Baruti has one of the oldest and long-standing and amazing African-centered schools right there in Atlanta. There are so many of us. You would be surprised. There are so many of us, but we are atomized. There used to be an organization called ACE, African-centered education, and it was kind of meant to be an umbrella for all of the educational African-centered education facilities throughout the country to come and actually have a hub. I'm not sure. I can't speak to it. I'm not sure what happened to ACE, but if we could ever, you know, unite and do the thing that is in our wheelhouse to do, but do it as a unit, we would be a power to be reckoned with. We would be, you know, a force to rival the public school system for real. Because imagine, I'm modest and humble to a degree, but I know that when it comes to curriculum design and development and coming up with ideas for how to engage our children and how to put the academics around that, like, that's what I love. Let me put it that way. Yeah. That's what I love. That's my hustle. You take Marcus Klein in Chicago, also amazing curriculum design developer in terms of literacy and numeracy. His school focuses on law and medicine with, you know, look him up. Baba Amin in Carolina, so eloquent and creative. Marlene Baruti in Atlanta, just the foundation and the core and the elder that we all need to kind of guide us. And that we all have it's like Voltron. we all have the pieces, right? Now bring all those pieces together and bring Umar Johnson in as the person who goes around to every state and just says to the people, there's a school over there. Yes. School over there. There's a school. I'm going to be at this school. We're going to be enrolling. How many parents show up to enroll their children in that school? Because he's there doing enrollment. Exactly. Right? He has the voice. So instead of his voice, Jazz, is gifted. He has a piper in his throat. Yeah. You know, and so we all have our own strengths. And if we just play to those strengths instead of like, oh, I'm over here with my small team and we're doing the best we can. And some years it's a struggle. And I'm over here with my small team and we're doing the best we can. And some years it's a struggle. Like, I just keep imagining a unified force, and I will keep envisioning a unified force because that's what it's going to take to really create the powerful educational institution engine that we need That's what's going to take to do what the CMOs, the charter school management organization that I told you, when charter school started as one thing, and they just came in and gobbled them all up. You know, it's going to take that unified force, and I am intent on envisioning that for us.
Yeah. So what I want to do, and I want to incorporate, I'm definitely going to bring somebody up that wants to give you their flowers, give you your flowers. And before I do that, I just want to say that even with this person's platform as well, with my platform, then I'm networking with another radio station, my homegirl up in Atlanta. Shout out to Doris, WMRR Radio in Atlanta. More Empowerment Radio, as you can see, More Empowerment behind me. And then you got Probation Station with her platform. And then there's High Low News, which is shout out to my homegirl, Janae Tate. And I think what happens is we forgot the lost art of media and having people that have these platforms to go ahead and now, put together this whole media conglomerate that we can start an underground educational railroad. And that would be dope because I know there's another underground media railroad that I'm working on. And I think the educational railroad needs to be. And that way it's like, even if it's every month, to get all the schools together and see what, the agendas, what they're trying to do, what they need help with, so we can get the information to the community. Because when we looked at Jim Crow era, one of the strongest points we had was the newspaper and the black radios that got the information to the people. Now these radio stations are controlled, but the good thing about it is we have online and online radio, which now can connect everybody, which was one of the things that Dr. AK had came on the show in 2014, 2015, and we were linking back with people back in Africa. Through the radio station. They were listening to the radio station in Africa. So I think we got to build back, and that's my job on the media, the media sense of getting our broadcasting out there and our radio airwaves out there to be very powerful, but to help you guys in this area, because like you say, everybody coming together and just saying, you know what, we're going to just do a mega force to help everybody out and see in every aspect where we can lend a hand. Because I think a lot of times what we do too much is we tell people, hey, I know there's a lot of people dying off, but we're going around telling people, hey, live your life. Our ancestors never had a chance to live their life. When you look at Harriet Tubman, she could have said, you know what, I made it all the way up north to the safety zone. Forget them slaves back there, the ones that didn't listen, or the ones that I passed and I didn't have no chance to go get. She said, you know what, I'm going back, not once, but over 600 times to go get other people that end up, their family members were never born into slavery. It's that type of sacrifice when she could have been up north living her best life and not worried about hounds and carrying hush puppies and people shooting at her. So we have to have that same type of mentality, that same type of fight to go out there and do what we need to do for the next generation. Otherwise, these young children are going to get swallowed up. And that's why I want to stand behind you, because what you're doing is you're making them to be a powerful entity outside of the programming and the agendas. Because if we have every children knowing how to build stuff and do what they need to do, they don't get into a mindset of dependency, which a lot of people do, especially with government assistance. So you're breaking them out of that cycle, that generational curse, and putting them on another wave to be independent and being a force to be reckoned with. So I definitely want to land my plane there and hand it over to Mona Lisa.
Hey, sister.
Hey. I'm just so emotional. So I just want thank you, Anthony. I appreciate Mama Cheryl on the platform. Thank you, Bobby. Truly, truly a pleasure and an honor. I just really wanted, I'm not going to take up so much time. I just really wanted to come up and give you your flowers. When we talk about change, like the stuff that happens behind the scenes is never discussed, right? I have a loved one that goes to the New York Kabbalah school. And, I'm pretty I'm not gonna say I'm involved, but I'm involved, and I know Mama Cheryl personally, right? So as a friend, as an amazing creator, like this lady is fucking like, it's insane. You know, I'm there a lot, right? We're good friends, and the sacrifice. Like I'm looking at her right now, and I'm like, "What are you doing at the school?" Right? Like, I'm going to get you. Like, what are you doing at the school? Supposed to, right? Like, and I just want to tell you that I love you. I'm really, really proud of you. And I want to let like the community know, like, there's been times that I go to the school and, you know, she's sleeping in the office, right? Like, this is a lady that is truly committed by any means necessary.
That's the behind the scenes stuff. That's the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's amazing to see. It's amazing. Like, it's crazy, y'all. Like, the community has no idea what we go through, like, to fight all this. Like her school is so dope. Like, this shit is crazy. I'm like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, they get budgets to go to the thrift store. They like take the clothes apart and they put shit together, and they have fashion shows and they direct plays, and their speech is like my loved one has a voice and he voices it. You know, and when he started going there, he wouldn't even speak.
And his teacher thought he was nonverbal. She came to me and she said, "I don't know about this one. This little one, he seems to be on the spectrum, and I think he's nonverbal on the spectrum." And I worked with him for a little while. I was like, "He can talk. He'll be all right." And she just kept working with him, putting him together with the other children, and he's amazing. He's amazing.
And I want to point that out before I give the mic back to Mona Lisa, that what you just said, and I want people that's watching, and you could tell your family members, these are the key elements that is the sacrifice that prevents your children from being on Ritalin and all these ADHD prescription and drugs that they want to put them on. Because when we analyze, we have great teachers that analyze a child and will say that child is fine. Just give them time to open up, opposed to somebody saying, "Hey, that child is not doing, let's recommend them this and this prescription." And now you have this child running around as a dope fiend at a young age, opposed to letting that child open up, and now that child being this natural self with the right state of mind, doing powerful stuff. So I wanted to just put that in there, especially with Dr. Umar always talking about how they write off the ADHD on our children. And I'll give it back to you, Mona.
I mean, and he's not the only one. Like I'm thinking about a young lady who, when she first started coming here years ago, maybe 3 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago, she was visibly on the spectrum. When she would come in and the lights would be brighter than it was outside, it's like, I can't with the lights. Or she would go and put herself under the table and rock. Or I had to disconnect the vents from inside the bathroom because she was wetting herself. We're like, "You're bigger. I don't understand what's going on." It was the sound. It was the sound of the vent when she would close the door. That it was a sensory overload. So I snipped the wires on the vent, took that out. And then Mama Brandy, one of our teachers, the most amazing educator I've ever met, and she has not gone to anybody's school for degrees in education, this, that, and the third, but the most amazing educator that I know. She worked with this young lady, and now you would talk to her and it's like, spectrum who? Spectrum where? Like, she, not her, it's just having the patience to say this is where you are, and having the strength to say, but you're not going to stay there. Now come out from under the table. I snipped the wires in the bathroom. Now don't you, I don't want to see you wet yourself again, because you're brilliant. You're a brilliant, beautiful Black young lady, and beautiful Black young women don't do that. So you're going to make your way to that bathroom. What else you need? You need a flashlight? What else you need? Like, but you're not, and she did not, never again. And so just that combination of, I understand where you are, but that Black, holding the standard of Black brilliance for every single one of them, holding that standard, and they rise to it. They rise to it. They really do.
Exactly. I mean, go ahead, Mona Lisa. I know you wanted to finish up.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that, like, the team is amazing, creative, understanding, loving, empathetic, compassionate. Like, it's out of control. And we need.
So just really quick, Mona Lisa, if you have a private school, which we can with the voucher system and the laws, every Black pocket of people who wants to have a school in a voucher state, you can do it, because one of the rules is that you don't have to have a teaching certificate. Even in the public school system, you can, as long as you have a college degree, you can teach without a teaching certificate for 3 years as you get your certificate. But in a private school, you don't even have to have a college degree. You can replace that with relevant work experience, right? Regardless of what that is for you. Now, that doesn't mean you pull anybody off the street, but that does mean that spoken word poet that knows more English language arts than the person with the English language arts degree, and has an African-centered bend around it, and she can relate to the children, and he can relate to the children, you can hire that person to be your English language arts teacher. This, we've had 3 history teachers. They've all been men. They've all been amazing. They've all been spectacular. None of them had degrees. One of them is an engineer at Florida Power and Light, but loves African history. The other one is a lecturer and a podcaster on what? African history. Does he have not even close to a degree? Was in the streets, cleaned himself up, and just teaches. We can bring him in here and have him be the history teacher, because not only does he know the history of the U.S., does he know world history, does he know Caribbean history, but he knows African history. So I say all that to say the barriers to us actually doing this and making this work and making it happen have come down so low that all we have to do is get in the game. All we have to do is get started. And I am, I'm willing to meet and help whatever group of people that wants to know how to do it, to help them to get the information that they need to get started and to, start educating our children in this way, because we can do this. We can do this.
I'm glad you pointed out the fact that make sure that you don't get anybody off the street to do that, because I found out what you said, that I didn't realize that till I had enrolled my stepchildren in a charter school. Where was that charter school? I think that charter school was in off of Sheridan somewhere. I think Sheridan, and I want to say 37. What's that? Douglas. I want to say it was past Sheridan and Douglas. There was a charter school over there. It was ran by a black man, and one of the teachers in there did not have a degree, and I guess this was her second job or something like that. She did it, and I remember my stepson came home to me and he said, "Mr. Anthony, I'm not going to tell you what the teacher said today. She had us sitting at a table and told us that to call us by our name and told us to line up on one side of the room, and then had the other children call their name and lined up on the other side of the room. Then she sat back and said, this side of the room is going to succeed and this side of the room is going to fail. And he told me that there was like a white child there that his whole feelings crushed and he was down and everything like that. And I was like, I said, yeah, tell me that teacher's name. And I remember going up to that school the next day with his mom. And I went to go speak to the principal. And I told that principal, if you don't have this teacher removed, I'm going to go above beyond your head and get that teacher removed, because that's very unethical for a teacher to sit up in class and dehumanize these children and basically flatten the air out of their minds, thinking that they're not worthy enough to be good enough to excel in life. For her to sit up here and say that and then tell them, oh, her dude is a football player, so she don't need this job. I said, if something don't get done, it's gonna look real bad on you. And he was like trying to, a lot of teachers, they are in the same roles of these police officers. Sometimes they try to hide and, basically be behind this wall of force. Or I'm going to protect you to a certain extent. And he tried to do that. Man, when I wrote that letter to the superintendent, I wrote an extensive letter to that superintendent. 3 days later, that teacher was fired. And that principal called me and asked me, hey, is everything okay? What can I do for your child? And things like that. And I said, let me tell you something. If you're going to run a ship, make sure you're running it right. Because if I hear something else out of there, it's going to be me and you. And man, he respected me so much. Even after my stepchildren didn't attend there, he saw me in the streets and had to run over and give me some love and dap. And he says, I remember you. He said, everything going on with you? Everything's good. So it takes that type of parent, that type of step parent, really protect these children. Because, otherwise, you can either breathe life into a child or breathe death or take death out. And I'll land my plane on that.
Not every teacher in the school system actually likes children, unfortunately. And in the public school system, in the charter school system, which is a public school, right? Like I said, all you need is your degree. And you can go from 3 to 5 years without having a certificate, because they give you a temporary certificate for that 3 to 5 years. And a lot of people who had never intended to be a teacher, what happens is they come out of college, they don't get a job in their field of study, in their field of choice, or they're not really sure what that was. And it's like, oh, I just went to school for 4 years and you don't have a job. And especially right now with teacher shortages and everything like that, it's really easy to just apply with the school board and say, okay, I'm just going to do this inside of the school system until I get in my field. But I'm not really on this teacher thing. You would be amazed and surprised the percentage of teachers who are in that boat, who had never went to school or expected or had any intentions of being in a school, but they are doing it as a job because their field of study didn't pan out. And not all people who are in front of our children actually love our children. And when you cultivate a small school based on your shared values, like we have here, that's what you get. You get a school full of individuals who have those shared values, who love the children that you're bringing in, and who demonstrate that every single day. You don't have people who I don't hire people who just looking for a teaching job just because it's a teaching job. You have to know what we do. You have to understand what we do, and you have to be on board with what it is that we do. And I would hire the podcaster who knows his stuff about history over the history teacher who's never heard of John Henry Clark, who's never heard of Amos Wilson, who's never heard of any Black historian that I name. Like, I'll hire this person. And it's not only the knowledge, it's what comes with that is a love of Black children. We love Black children.
Correct.
and would never say, the discipline is there, but that's not discipline. What she did was not discipline at all. I don't know if she thought that was motivational, but it was just wrong.
It was kind of a, it was kind of just the privilege of, this being a secondary job. So whenever you have a secondary job, most people don't, they don't look at it the same as their primary job. So it's like, hey, this job is nothing to me. So anything and everybody around affiliated with that second job is nothing to me as well. And that was the attitude that she pushed off to these children. And they don't deserve that. Whether you black, white, Chinese, I didn't care what race of child was in that classroom. You're not going to do that to these children.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, these children are innocent. And I'm always down for protecting these children's innocence. And when they get old, they make their decision. But under that adolescent age, I'm there to protect them. I'm the village. I'm the village that's there for their protection. When their parents is not there, I'm there to take up for their parents. And that's what I did.
Absolutely.
It's funny hearing you discuss that because I've mentioned before how I was in the school system for a number of years. And interestingly enough, I came in under a temporary teacher certificate because even though education wasn't my background, that wasn't my major, and I was in that boat where I was looking for another job while I was doing something else. But what I had done is after I got out of college, I've been substitute teaching for several years. It was between substitute teaching and doing interventioning when the opportunity arrived. And so after a few years, once I was seeing, I wasn't having any luck, I was like, you know what? I may as well go into this teaching thing full time. I'm doing it full time anyways now. May as well.
Yeah.
However, the difference is, unlike those people who are doing it just to collect the check, I actually had reverence and respect for the position because my family is full of educators. My mother's an educator for forever, as long as just about as long as I've been here. She got into teaching once I got into school age, so we could be on the same schedule. And to this day, she still teaches. My aunt, she's a teacher and she was a principal. My grandmother, she was a principal. So all throughout my family, education has always been there. So I've always had a high respect for the field. I've always had a high respect for the privilege because it is a privilege to be able to serve our children in that fashion. There's few things that are a greater honor than that because you literally have your fingertips on the future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's as close as you can get to hopping in a time machine and changing the future. You're doing it right then and there when you're pouring into these children. Every experience, good or bad, with our children is shaping them.
Yes.
And just that one incident that you mentioned, Anthony, I shudder to think how that affected those children, even the ones who may not necessarily have been on the other side of the room when they were told they were going to fail, but just watching that being said to your peers.
Yeah.
I shudder to think about what impact that's had on them, even to this day, because I still remember just about all my teachers, and I remember all the great teachers I had, but I remember all the bad teachers I had, and I still remember my fourth grade math teacher, because when I was coming up, I was a very bright, very gifted child, but I wasn't the biggest fan of doing my work. I love reading. And so I was never rude. I would never be that child that would throw things or start fights, what have you. But I would be quietly reading my book or just mind my business or just playing my little Game Boy or whatever if I could. And I remember one day in class, and I actually talked about this with some people the other day, and we kind of went deep into it. And the person I was having a conversation with was asking me some very pointed questions, getting me to recall that day. And I was actually surprised. This was back in fourth grade. I'm almost 40 now. And I was actually surprised how in depth I remember the experience. I remember what the weather was like that day. I didn't remember the exact time, but I remembered the time frame of that day. It was like almost lunchtime, just before then. I almost remember what I was even wearing that day. And that teacher called me out because another day where I wasn't doing my work, and she said, "I can't wait till I retire at the end of the school year, so I never have to see your face again." And she told me that in a room. The room was full of kids. It was a full class today. And I remember being angry, but more than anything, I remember being punched right in the stomach when she said that. And I was someone who was never good in math back then. And I had never had a string of good math teachers, but I genuinely feel that at least part of why I struggled in math was because I had that negative association with math. And it just seemed like I got all the horrible teachers. But the crazy part is, as an adult, past the grade school level, I'm not looking in textbooks, I'm not looking in these things. But the crazy thing was all these math concepts that I struggled with in elementary school, as an adult who hasn't looked at this stuff for years, all this stuff just out of the blue started making sense to me. I know how to calculate decimals. I understand fractions, how to convert fractions. So much to the point when I was a teacher, I even for a time was teaching math at the elementary level. And it never stopped being funny to me. The kid who struggled in math, had horrible math teachers, brain shut off on his math time. I'm here educating students and they're getting results. But that just went to show me just how important it was the way we approach our children, how we're impacting the children and the things we're saying to them. It makes a difference. So like you said, it's a blessing when you're able to get people in there who, whether they necessarily have the degrees and the on the paper they look good, but they have the knowledge, they have the drive, and they have the care for our children. It matters, especially when that's not an obstacle, because how many people in that position would say, well, I'd love to be a teacher. I love this, but, I don't have a teacher's degree. I don't want to go to school for 4 years to get this degree, whatever you.
Exactly.
And they talk to Cheryl and they find out, well, we can get you in here if you're passionate about this, if you're qualified, if you know this stuff, and we can work that stuff out later on. Yeah. So that's not just a blessing for the students, but think of how amazing that is for someone who didn't get there the traditional route that now has a chance at redemption, where they can now be a part of that process. They can be at New Alkebulan, they can be in someone's charter school or someplace else, and they can be teaching, giving back, finding their passion, and being able to be of service to the children. So it's very important, not just the role that the school serves, but just to have people who are knowledgeable like yourself on these different things that the average person and even people in the educational field themselves may not know, because this is a different level. Knowing subject matter for economics, history, math, that's one thing. But knowing the organizational levels, the administrative things like that's a completely different ballgame. So to be able to put the two together and to provide that information and to also be able to apply it to a school like New Alkebulan, that's just an unfair advantage that our children really need badly.
Yes.
We really need that.
So I just wanted to, because I didn't want to stay.
Yes. Right,
like I'm truly just a witness. And Mama Cheryl, I just want to tell you that I love you. I'm proud of you. Your schooling, your team is a solution. It truly is. Yeah, and I'm just thankful that we're having this conversation. So sending love, blessings. Just wanted to give you your flowers. Keep pushing, keep going. I'm here to support, and I want others to support you as well. So I'm looking forward to the journey.
Yes.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you so much. We love you too, Mona Lisa, and thank you for everything you do as far as with the community, educating them on the criminal system and protecting our children as well. Everybody fights in a different realm and in a different way. And we have two wonderful, beautiful queens that fight on different perspectives, but they also come together and join in on another perspective as well. So we definitely want to say that we appreciate everything you do in the community as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Just really quick, because you touched on something very important. It is important for people who are doing the work to commune together. It is important because we only understand each other, because a lot of people don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So finding a way for us who do it to commune together. Because me and Mama Cheryl actually rock together. You know what I mean? So I think that that's needed in this space that we call liberation or, resources, education. We really have to figure out ways to get to really, truly know each other, especially those that work on the ground. So Thank y'all for the platform. I appreciate y'all, and all of you have a good night.
All right. Good night, Queen.
Good night. Thanks
Good
so
night.
much, Mona.
You're welcome.
All right. Shout out to Mona, man. Such a beautiful queen, always there for the community. See, that's why, certain people, when you see them link up with certain people, like Mona Lisa, the minute she came to me and introduced me to Miss Cheryl, I already knew like she's on point. Certain people, when they connected with other people, you just know this person only connect with like-minded individuals. So I don't have nothing to worry about. So it's I tell people all the time, yourself, your own brand. Don't tarnish your brand messing around with jokers and people that don't mean good for other people, because that'll mess up your whole brand. And you really want to be a solidified brand in order, especially if you want to build a community. And I just be around genuine people, and I'm just so glad to know both of you queens doing excellent work out there. With that being said, I do want to show this video real quick because I feel like, when I saw your students out there and I'm watching the students in the video, I just feel like you have this educational system similar to this. But then you told me that there's different curriculums. So I'm not sure if this is one of them, but man, and speaking of math, I think Bobby Drake, you might find this one pretty dope. So here's the video.
Minus 4 plus 5 plus 2, take away 7 plus 3, take away 2, take away 1, add 2, add 5, minus 7, add 1, add 5, and add 1. What is my answer? 7. That is correct. Good job, Bess. Very good. 2 plus 2 minus 4 plus 1 plus 5. Return 6, add 7 plus 2, take away 1, take away 1, return 5, and add 1, and add 5. What is my answer? Yes. Very good. Good job. Moving 9, return 5, return 4, plus 2, plus 2, plus 5, take away 7, add 5, take away 7, add 3, take away 2, take away 1, plus 1, plus 2, plus 5, and minus 6. What is my answer? That is correct. Good job. In 3, minus 2, minus 1, plus 6, plus 1, take away 2, plus 4, take away 1, take away 1, take away 5, and add 6. What is my answer? 8. That is correct. Good job, Daniel. Very good.
Yeah. So I was blown away when I saw that video.
So what she's doing, let me tell you what she's doing.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
They are using a tool like this. This is a big one that we use with kindergartners and
Yes.
pre-K students starting at 3 years old. So kindergarten, first, second, third grade. This is a big one. I should have brought over like a really small one too. The older children have the same tool, but it's small, right? This is called, people call it an abacus, but this is a Japanese sotoban or Japanese abacus. And what the children do is they learn what she's saying on these beads. It's very visual. And that when they're doing this, they're moving the beads up and down.
Yeah.
But they have taken, they learn on the tool. And then when they've gotten good at the tool, they are taught to visualize the tool in their mind and move the beads with their mind. In their mind. So they're doing that same calculation. And the thing is that it's visual. So for your visual learners, and you have different learning styles. We've all heard of that. You have different learning styles. For your kinesthetic children who need to move and like move around, and also for your visual learners who are actually seeing the pictures in their mind when you tell the story. They're seeing the pictures in their mind when you're teaching them about science and precipitation. They're seeing the water cycle. For your visual learners, this is going to be really good for them, right? So all of these up here are 5s, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then this the 10 section, the hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And we have some that go a lot longer than this, right? So what they're doing is they're moving these beads in their mind. So when she said +5, +2, -1, plus 3 minus 2 minus 1 minus 5 plus 2 plus 5 minus 2 minus 1 plus 3. What's the answer? 9. And they just see it immediately. 9. You don't have to calculate it. You just move the beads and it's there. Right? So I'm showing you this because yes, our children do that too.
Yes. Nice.
Our math
crazy.
teacher,
I love
our
it.
math teacher uses it.
I was trying to keep up with the kid. At first, I wasn't sure what was going on. The first,
Man, I watched that video
the first time
several
I was
times,
like,
and I still. I'm like,
second time I couldn't do
what?
it. Third time I was able to keep up in my
They're
mind,
not
but I'm
calculating.
actually counting in my head.
They're not
But,
counting. They're not
it's
counting
crazy.
because your brain can actually just move and visualize and see faster than it can actually do the calculations. Right. So they are not calculating at all. They're simply moving these beads. They know that these are in the 5s and these are 1s down here. They know this is a 1's place value 10. So you can teach place value, you can teach addition, subtraction, decimals, all types of things on this one tool. And at no point are they actually calculating anything.
Yeah.
But which is very powerful because again, sometimes, especially with our children, it's very easy to get caught up in certain words or concepts with saying, "Well, I can't do such and such. I can't do, or I'm not good at this." And what you're doing is basically, it's the same thing because really, whether you're calculating or using the abacus, it's the same thing. You're getting whatever the problem is that's being presented to them, it's solving the problem, but you're just changing the language. So you can't calculate. Okay, you can't calculate. Can you work an abacus?
Yeah,
I can do that. So
yes.
So you're teaching them basically another language of how to do it.
It immediately skyrockets their confidence because you may have a child whose primary learning style is logical and mathematics. That was my son. My son was doing algebra before he entered elementary school. Something about math just works in his head. It just makes sense. Yeah. He can tell you what X is and what Y is by looking at the thing. Something about math just works. He's a logical, mathematical. That's his primary learning style. But then sometimes you have that artistic child who is a visual learner and who is better at painting and art. So when they get around math, they clam up and they're like, I'm not good with numbers and I can't do math. You give them this and you teach them to calculate without calculating, and all they have to do is what they naturally do, which is visualize, and they're doing this, boom, right answer. Immediately their sense of themselves as a mathematician just goes through the roof.
Because the truth is, for the most part, our children are geniuses, like you said. The key is when you try to pigeonhole them into a specific learning style, what is it going to do is that learning style that fits those children that it works with, they're going to accelerate through it. But the kids who aren't able to understand, that's not their language, so to speak, they're going to struggle at best, completely be, dispirited, dejected. They're going to check out at worst. But in some cases, if you can teach them, if you can find the way that works for them and apply that, in some cases, they might actually be able to blow out the children who are proficient in the other style because, again, it's what's best for them. So the key is, can I find the language, the method that works for my child? And it's powerful when you do that for these kids. It really gives them a sense of belonging, not just in a classroom setting, but in the world. Because, if you've ever been a child that struggled in school, it gets to the point, especially once you get up in age and, the teachers and the adults are really starting to reinforce, this is important. You need to be able to get a good job. You need to have prospects. You really get to a point where you feel like, I wonder if there's really a place for me in this world, because they're telling me that I need this to be able to survive, to pay bills, to, take care of myself. And right now it's looking like my prospects aren't too great.
Yeah.
So
that's why every year we have 3 semesters, we have 3 different projects, and those projects speak to different skill sets and different learning styles. Like Mona Lisa was saying, one of the projects was called Fashion Forward. And it was all about we still did history, but they looked at the different periods in history through the fashion that the people were wearing and what that was saying about that time period. So they were able to now look at an old picture and say, oh, that's the 1950s. Oh, that's the 1970s, right? And so their project, one of the challenges we had them do as a team was so in English, they wrote a story. And one of them was about, one of the stories as a team they wrote was about Africans coming over on the ships and they were being thrown overboard. But instead of drowning, they landed on the bottom and they created this community under the water. Now you fast forward, we had twins on that team. So one of them was playing the young girl who had gotten thrown overboard in the 1800s, and she was now living in this community at the bottom of the ocean. And then in another part of the story, the other twin goes to the beach here in South Florida at the Atlantic, right? And she hears her own voice like calling back to them. So they're coming up with these stories. And another one was about robots. And so they, as teams, they came up with a story in English. So they learned writing. They learned sentence structure. They learned where do you put the question mark in the period and all of those different things, but in the context of making their story. Now, each team, we had a challenge. We went to the thrift store and they had to find clothes that they could deconstruct and then reconstruct as costumes to act out their stories on a runway. And so this project came about because one of my students who's really good in math and science, her mother's a math teacher, her father's a science teacher. And so she's really good at math and science. But when asked, like, what do you want to do? She says, I want to do hair. And I said, what? You want to do what? You want to do what? I'm sorry. You going to college? This whole I'm not going to college. I'm just going to braid hair. I'm sorry. No, you're not. And I really got on her. And I looked at her and her face, like she was looking so defeated. Like, yeah, I'm good at math. I'm good at science. It comes naturally to me because of my parents, but that's not who I am. And I realized that like you're crushing her idea, her sense of self-identity right now. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I designed a project along with the educators who are here. One of the educators had been doing a fashion show for years. So we just took the concept and expanded on it. And I made her the artistic director. She got to do all the hair. She got to do all the makeup. She got to we ordered mannequins that you have at beauty school, and she was teaching the other children different braids and cornrows and the history of braids and cornrows and stuff like that. So that entire 4 or 5 months was about her, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna let you see if you really want to do this, and you don't want to do the math and science. So we're gonna craft an entire project because of you. And I went back and I apologized and I let her know, because this is who you are, this is who you say you are, you gotta come with it. You're teaching the hair class, you are art director for the fashion show, all of it, come on. And she was shining the entire 3, 4, 5 months. And it was an amazing production. The fashion show was an amazing production. But it came out of her saying, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. Just because I'm good at math and science doesn't mean I want to do it. And me crushing that, like, what do you mean? We need engineers. We need engineers. And she's like, so I was like, okay, nope. We're going to fashion this around you. It's called Fashion Forward. And it was amazing. It was amazing. Now that is
powerful.
Yeah, she got a chance to do. She had a chance to experience it. She got a chance to be an artistic director and a hair designer and all of those things. Some of the videos from that project are on our YouTube site. But a lot of our projects come from children saying, "I want to do X, Y, and Z," or "I want to be X, Y, and Z, and we create a project around it.
Cheryl, really quickly, can you go ahead and plug the name of their YouTube channel so that those who are listening can subscribe, tap in, and see this? Because I personally, as soon as we get off, I had something else planned, but I want to watch the videos. I want to see that fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see this greatness.
So on YouTube, we are under New Alkebulan Education or New Alkebulan STEM. As you see there under my name, that is the name of our school. That is the name of our YouTube channel as well. You'll see a lot of the projects that we did, the Fashion Forward that I just mentioned. It was another one at Recording Arts where they made an album. The music that you heard when they were making the car, I got Drive. What's driving you? The children wrote that. They went to a recording studio. They recorded it. They made an album. You'll see the songs that they wrote. So, and again, that was a young woman. Yes, that is us. That came from a young woman that's us, whose mother is a singer. She wanted to be a singer. There was other children who wanted to be singers, rappers. So okay, I guess we're doing a recording arts project. And those recordings are there on our website for you to take a look at. I did want to say before we leave that we are looking to increase the enrollment here at New Alkebulan. Unfortunately, some Black people get the impression that the school is not for all Black people. That could not be further from the truth. They look at us and they, oh, that's that African stuff. Oh, those the hoteps over there. No, that is not what we're doing. That is not what we're doing. And like, we've had people to come in and see that we're trying to get the children to see themselves on every single wall in the space. And when you come in here, all you see is, history and brown and Black, and they see themselves on every wall. And parents often get the idea that the school is not for regular Black children, or I don't know. But what I'm saying, it could be that is the furthest from the truth. If you want your child to be academically advanced, if you want your child to be able to express their creativity, having hands-on experience in a disciplined, loving environment, the school is for you. And we're looking to double our enrollment by August. Right now, we have about 40 children. We're looking to enroll about 80 children by August. We are willing to help parents who don't already have the scholarship to apply for the state scholarship, which will cover 90% of the tuition. After the scholarship, some parents pay $0, and some parents pay as little as $25 a week. I think that's the most that we have parents paying is $25 a week for their child. So we're looking to grow our population so that we can continue to service the children here in South Florida. Our children come from as far north as Palm Beach County and as far south as Dade County. So you don't have to live in Lauderhill to go here either. This is a shameless plug for our school and for parents who would want to enroll children in a school like ours. We are here for all of our children, grades kindergarten through 9th grade.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. What was the age? So from kindergarten to 9th grade. That's super dope. I do want to show a couple of things that I got off your page, which was the chess, right? As in chess, if you copy every move that your opponent makes, you'll always be one step behind. I thought that was very powerful.
That's from one of your projects, yes.
Yes, because you guys actually do a chess tournament, right? So that's dope.
Yeah, that project was called Chess Not Checkers. And
Yes.
it was all about strategic planning. And they made a human chess game where all of the pieces represented um, real life people in our community. So the king
Mm.
was the black man, because you take out the black man, game over. The queen
Yes.
was the black woman in society. Is all of them were different positions in society.
Yeah.
So you had your
Right.
rook being your educational institutions, your bishop being your religious institutions. And we looked at all of these things through that lens, and they created a human chess game that actually plays itself out like a chess
Wow.
game.
Wow. That is super dope.
Yeah.
I saw this as well. That we talked about how you had all the different programs for them, the art, music on Monday, the theater Tuesday, technology Thursday, water Wednesday. I thought that was super dope. And it's such great things that you're doing. And then the last one we had, we love Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, one of the most iconic Black women to ever step on this planet, to give us some great information before she transitioned. And I thought this was a great quote that you put up on the page. The more the Black man strives to stand, the weaker the white male feels by comparison. And the greater the white male's trust for effeminize the Black male, the weaken the Black male's psychology potential for aggressive and assertive challenge, forcing him to remain submissive to the man. We love Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I
Mhm.
have her ISIS papers here. Super dope.
She's one of
And
the scholars they read during the Chestnut Checkers um, project.
nice,
So they read
nice.
13 scholars every project. So by the time the end of the year gets here, they know and have read the works of at least about 40 African scholars. And this
Wow.
is from kindergarten to ninth grade. And for the kindergartners who can't read the actual text, we take them and we turn them into cartoons.
Wow. And I want to say this before we get up out of here. Um, y'all don't understand how powerful this queen is. I know you guys heard everything we spoke about, how she spoke about on different topics and what the children are doing. I know uh, all the things that she has going on. But the one thing she didn't tell you, the one thing that she didn't tell you that has a superwoman S on her chest is this book right here. It's called Medical Apartheid. And it's one of the best top 3 books I ever read in my lifetime. And what this talks about is the deep history that Black people go through, especially Black women that encounter in the medical field. One of her posts, she spoke on about chemo. She was going through chemotherapy. And even at that moment, a time where she should be not thinking about schooling or educating, this woman took the time out to talk to her audience and said, hey, I've talked to the nurse and they told me that this machine was working and supposed to be giving me my medication and my fluids, and it was beeping and it wasn't correct. And I'm telling them like, hey, I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting. And she turned around and said, look at the bag, look at the amount of milliliters in the bag, calculate that if from 10 o'clock to 8 p.m., no, 8 a.m. the next morning, and tell me how much fluid I'm supposed to have in here and what time it was supposed to run out instead of me having to still almost a full bag by 8 o'clock the next morning. Educating the children in the process of kind of suffering from a lack of treatment in the hospital and still going on. That's how much passion this queen has in her heart to educate people while she's being mistreated in the hospital. And I apologize that you have to go through that. I know we had an influencer that passed away a couple of days because she had been misdiagnosed in the hospital. And there's so many Black women that go through so much stuff. We talked about Serena Williams almost died as a multi-millionaire athlete, almost died on the table because she wasn't getting treated the right way. And they hindered a lot of pain medicine for her, which almost caused her to lose her life. And just going through that and still educating the people and still out here doing everything and making sure that the school didn't collapse, my heart goes out to you. And that just put me on another notch of level of appreciation I have for you, Queen. So definitely want to leave that to you. Maybe you want to.
When I saw it, I was like, this is a math problem for my children. And they calling up, tell the nurse, tell the nurse that it should be. It was amazing. I got a bunch of little advocates telling my nurse, no, it should be this, it should be this.
Yes.
So it was really good. It was it was a challenging moment, but I was very proud of them for doing the work and doing the calculations. And I wanted to let them know, like, when you ask that question, when will I ever use this in math or wherever? When will I ever use this? When in the real world, when will I ever use this information? Like, no, calculate this for me and solve this problem for me, and then call me and then talk to my nurse. And they did.
Yeah.
And they did.
Nice. Thank you so much. This was a very impactful presentation, educational type of stance. I love it. Definitely, when we come back towards the schooling, if you want to come back on at any moment, you can reach out to me. Let's educate the people some more. Also, give us some opportunity, whatever you think we can do to help you, promote you on our platform, get the word out there. Like I said, later on down the road, we definitely want to do multiple activities. We also want to do manifestations, doing kind of a reality show, going to these schools, going into the communities, and just mirroring a lot of people that's doing the great work so we can expose things on a bigger level. So all of that's going to be in fruition. But in the time, what we can do to help you, just let us know what we can do to help you. We're here, at any moment. Just use us for whatever you need to use us for. And with that being said, we'll definitely let you, just say some words to the people before we head up out of here.
Well, I just want everybody to know that we are here. We are here in service of your children, and we are looking to grow and expand our school here in Lauderhill. We are looking to enroll, to double our enrollment come August. Also looking for parents who are looking for summer programs for their children, like the flyer that he just put up. So in order for us to keep going and do the work that we're doing, we have a unique opportunity to do that right now. We have the unique opportunity of having the ability to get these scholarships, to have you get the scholarships to bring your children here. So it's not a huge out-of-pocket expense for you, and it helps our school to continue to grow and to continue to exist and to continue to educate our children. But we can only do that if we have a certain number of children in the school. That's why we're looking to double our enrollment come August. So if your child is from K to 9, but if they are bathroom independent, that is the criteria. So if they're 3 and bathroom independent, bring them on over. And if they are bathroom independent to 9th grade, and you like the type of hands-on, academically rich education that you saw, you can contact our school on our website, newalkebalonschool.com or N.A.E.org. Yes, that is the website. You can also call us at 954-352-7211, 954-352-7211. You can also Google us, and that'll give you all of our information, the phone number, the website, all of it. So contact us. We are registering students. We have a rolling registration. We are registering students from now until August.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Rest easy. Queen, we send all our strength, our energy to you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say, Bobby?
Um, I'm just blown away completely at the amazing work that's going on. Um, it's my greatest regret that I don't have any children I can send you. Actually, forget the children. I'm trying to find out, can I enroll? Can I be like a part-time education? I can do like kindergarten all the way to ninth grade and on weeknights or something.
Well, in the video,
Amazing.
you saw all those men, right? Those are men from the community. Those are fathers who come in to help and with the builds and help with the children make things and build things. We love to have the men from the community who are vetted and safe for our children to come in and be alongside them as they're building. Our children need to see that. Our boys need to see that. Our men need to see that. So if there are men in the community who have specific skills around building certain things, making certain things, we would love to have you come in and help us and volunteer and work with the children.
That's amazing, incredible. This is good to see, good to hear. Glad to hear some of those other schools to shout out as well too. I actually had said that once I go and once I have my children, one of the things that I'll be constantly looking at is I'd be willing, and by that time I should have some other things in place where I can do so comfortably instead of really sacrificing to do it. But I'd be willing to relocate my family to a place that has a proper uh, Black homeschool network or a proper African-centered educational center specifically for that. And I'd heard before that we might have had one or two, but no one really knew about it, that we had one down here. But it's good to know that if that time comes, if I'm still in the area, that God willing, I'll have New Alkebulan to look forward to. But it does my heart good to see that we have that here, that there are children in the community who are benefiting from this. And there are other places out there. So hopefully this will definitely be a window into what it looks like over there, what the experience is like for those people who may have heard of the school and thought, they just do Hotep stuff over there. Yeah, this is if this is Hotepery, sign me in, because this Hotepery is the kind of stuff that's going to change the world. It's going to allow our children to be competitive in the world and not be at a disadvantage. So I'm grateful that you received the vision to do this. I'm glad that you've been successful thus far, and I truly hope that the best years of New Alkebulan are to come
Ahead of us.
Way ahead.
Absolutely. We are second only to homeschooling. Only to homeschooling or homeschooling in a small group where the child gets to be around their mother or their father's influence, all day and just bask in that. But if you are a parent who not only has to go to work, but wants a larger community for your child, we are second only to homeschooling in that way, because when they come here, they are ours. It is that African environment that I am Mama Cheryl. Here I'm Mama Cheryl. There's Mama Brandy. There's Mama Lorraine. There's Mama Melissa, Mama Amisha, and Baba Abasi. Baba means father. So that means when your parents are not here, I'm your mother. He's your father. And that is how we actually address them. That's how they address us, because that is how we do. That is the community that is built within the school. So second only to being able to homeschool your child yourself. If you cannot do that, or you want a larger community than that, then definitely Google us. Come and check us out here at the New Alkebulan Education Center.
Beautiful. And one more time, can you please plug the name of your YouTube channel and your other social media outlets as well?
So all the social media outlets, from Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of them are at New Alkebulan Education. They're either at New Alkebulan or they're at New Alkebulan Education. All of them. All of them.
Beautiful.
At New Alkebulan or at New Alkebulan Education. Okay, so thank you guys for having me. And like I said, any parents or community members who want to reach out, 954-372-52 954-372-5211. That's our direct line here at the school, or contact us on any of the social media platforms.
All right, so we'll see you everybody next week. We definitely will be here for another dope episode, and we had such a great night tonight. And remember, tell a friend to tell a friend. All the information is there as we head out. So thanks again. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate all our queens. Appreciate everybody coming in. Definitely see you guys next week. All right? Peace.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there, you gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves. I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage, we are. This is Manversations 2020.
Manversations. Man up. Manversations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.